Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and what we're looking at this time is the Shun Kanso series. This is the Santoku, the 7-inch or 180 millimeter version, and so this knife uses a core steel, or shouldn't really say core steel. It's one solid piece of AUS 10A, or some people call it AUS 10A stainless steel. It's in the same lineup as the AUS or AUS 6 and 8. The Fujiwara FKM series has got the AUS 8A steel in it, which is a proven steel. So this is a slightly higher version of that with a little bit more edge retention. And so it's good steel. The heat treat they take it to is about 60 Rockwell, so it's not too extreme and gives you a little bit of forgiveness. Again, the construction is monosteel, so it's a solid slab of that steel. It even says so on the label, solid AUS 10. Or I should say AUS 10A. The weight on the knife is kind of middleweight. It's got a little heft to it, so it's 182 grams or 6.4 ounces. The edge length, again, right about 180 or a little over 7 inches. Overall length was about 12.4 inches or 315 millimeters. And the spine thickness on this was about 2.3 millimeters, and the blade height's about 49 millimeters at the back of the blade, known as the chin, to the spine. So the height of the knife. The spine thickness carries most of the way through the blade. We'll get a close-up look, but there's not a lot of distal taper here, so it pretty much holds that until you hit the grind towards the tip. And it does get pretty thin at the very, very tip, but it doesn't have a lot of distal taper, so the tip's not just going to ghost through things like a true laser or something with lots of taper would. Although if you put a little motion in the stroke and get the knife moving and the tip moving, it does pretty darn well. The handle is pretty cool. This knife has an outdoorish feel to it, and the handle they put on there, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but they call it Tagayasan wood. It's also known as Bombay blackwood and a number of other names, but basically it's a hard, dense wood that's good for handles, and as you'll see close up, it's got a nice texture to it. Let's take a look at it close up. The finish on these is really cool. Like I said, they've kind of got an outdoor vibe to them. They've got a stone-washed kind of finish to it, and it gives some interesting, look to it aesthetically, but it also really is good at hiding scratches and nicks and marks and such. So this knife will look good a lot longer than some with just a kind of a plain soft steel cladding with a matte kind of finish on it. So this is a really nice finish they've chosen for this. A lot of outdoor knives use this type of finish as well, kind of a tumbled or stonewash finish. So you've got your kind of screened on Shun logo and some other logo and information on the back telling you it is solid AUS 10A steel. Gives you the model of it. The fit and finish is really good on the knife. They've rounded off and relieved the spine a little bit, and also the choil, the back of the blade. Finish is nice on the handle, and the spine does kick up a little bit all the way around, but that's, I shouldn't say spine, the handle itself is full tang, but the tang does kick up all the way around just a little bit, but that's by design. It feels just fine in the hand. That's their choice, their design choice. The wood has some really nice texture to it, so great grip. Let me get a beauty shot here for the video. So there we go. That might be pretty good. The handle also up towards the front has kind of a bolstered effect, so this is really comfortable for a pinch grip as well as for a racket style grip. Balance point is just in front of that handle, so it's pretty neutral for either kind of grip style. And then we do have these dimples on here. These are not super duper thin at the edge, and the spine is fairly thick and beefy, but they're thin enough they do really well through product. You'll see the spine here has some thickness, and it just retains a lot of that until you hit the grind in the very tip. So that makes this blade really stiff. It's got a lot of nice, stiff, confident feel to it. The edge is not so thin to make it real delicate. So for a newbie for Japanese knives, somebody that's new to that, or you might want to give somebody a knife or recommend a knife, this might be good for somebody just getting into the Japanese knife style, as it's got, I think, a little more durability. It's still a precision edge, but it's not quite as delicate as some knives. These scallops work. They do work quite well for food release. I've compared side by side with the chef's knife, which does not have the scallops, and they really do enhance the food release aspect. The profile is kind of a gentle curve with a little bit of flat spot towards the back. So let's take a look at it. I'd say the out-of-box edge on this was maybe a good solid 5 out of 10, maybe 6. It had a pretty nicely done edge, not too high grit, nothing super refined. I did sharpen this knife, and I thought the steel responded well. It takes a little more work to get it really sharp than, let's say, a good reactive carbon steel, but that's true of most steels. But it ground well on the stones. I've got it really sharp. It's stropped well, and it's got a nice, crisp, sharp edge on it at this point. So the steel sharpened up pretty well for me on my Shapton stones. So here's your profile. Again, kind of a gentle curve. You've got a little bit of a flat spot towards the back, and not a ton. The tip's pretty low in relation to the knife, so you don't get to rock this very high because you're going to start digging the tip in pretty early on just because of the low point of the tip. That does make draw cuts really easy, though. You can just draw very easily for draw cuts through things, and you don't have to lift the knife very high, so it's great for that. It's great for low rocking. It's real nice if you got a little bit of movement in your knife stroke where you're kind of following the curve of that edge, and you can do some nice cuts on a variety of objects, or I should say product, with this thing. So it fits a variety of styles. It's not a pure chopper, but it's not that long of a knife either. So just a well-executed knife. The performance is pretty good. The back part of the blade is probably the best part of the blade. It goes through product quite well. The front part does not have a lot of distal taper, so you got to work that tip just a little bit and keep it moving, and be confident with it, and it'll go through things quite well, but it's just not just going to fall through things like a super thin tipped laser or something like that. But overall, this is a really well executed package, and this is the Shun Kanso Santoku 7-inch knife.